guests are seated, and we're just going to start. As for the birthdays, it will come in a special way right after the show. So my guests are yours truly, Abdul Malik Kweku Bako, editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. We will be joined shortly by Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, who is executive director of the Institute of Democratic Governance, IDEC. In the studio right now is Alexander Kwamina Afenyo Marking. He's MP Efutu and member Defense and Interior Committees of Parliament. Also, John Abdullahi Jinapo is MP Yape Kushogu and former Deputy Power Minister. I say he was de facto minister for a long time. And we will go on the phone lines to speak with or to have Asan Koma, who is a lawyer, to speak to us. They have issued a statement on the Bust saga that is Occupy Ghana. And also we'll speak to Dr. Eric Osei Isibe. He's a senior lecturer, Department of Economics, University of Ghana. He is an adjunct fellow of the IEA. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to Newsfile.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Right. Now, you may be aware already that there's been a disaster, a Galamsey disaster that has happened, and 17 precious lives were just swallowed up by a Galamsey pit in Nsuta. And a rescue mission began. Unfortunately, it has had to abandon its job. So we give up on those lives. What a way to continue the fight against Galamsey. So we are going to briefly talk about, have some comments about the Galamsey issue, the deaths that have occurred in Nsuta as far as the Galamsey issue is concerned, and then we proceed to deal with the other matters that have come up in the course of the week. So let me straight away invite John Jinapo. I gather that the ministry, for example, would have felt very terrible about this, even though we are at a time when they are leading. I'm talking about the Lands and Natural Resource Ministry. They are leading the fight against Galamsey, and this is a time where people have lost their lives. 17 people, you know, have lost their lives through Galamsey.
Well, I thought yesterday I listened to a deputy minister.
Right.
Something Bio.
Yes. Benito Bio.
Benito Bio.
Benito Wusu Bio.
That 22 were dead.
Right.
And I think it was initially 17.
Yeah, the number keeps right. It was 14, 12, 14, then it continues.
So as at the time they were bringing the whole operation to a closure, based on the number that escaped, they were able to do some reconciliation and eventually determined that they could put their hands on 22 people dead. You can understand that these would be young, energetic men who are in their prime age. And so my condolences to their families. It tells us that the fight against Galamsey is much broader than just using the military, the police, or security agencies, and that we ought to rather take a holistic and all-encompassing approach. I heard the minister also indicate that there's going to be a special stakeholders forum where all the stakeholders will be brought on board. I don't think that there's a major issue with mining by itself. It's about how it is regulated, how it is carried out, the safety and the environmental issues and all that. I'm sure that we can harmonize all these issues and bring them to the fore so that we can have a blueprint, a working document, and a roadmap in terms of how we want to proceed. And so this should be a wake-up call. We should also tell those engaged in this activity that it's a very dangerous activity. And so when government, civil society, media, and all the stakeholders are pushing for a curtailment of some of these dangerous activities, it goes to the direct benefits of the people themselves. And so it's not as if somebody is fighting you and preventing you from getting your daily bread, as they so put it. It's also because we are saving your lives. Because to lose 22 young, energetic men, probably some married, some have families, children, kids, and all that, is a huge toll on this country. And so I would encourage the minister, I would encourage government, and all of us should join in this effort so that together we can fashion out a way that will suit our needs to ensure that even if we're going to engage in mining, it is done in a regulated manner, it is done in a proper fashion, so that we do not have a repeat of this. This should be the end of it. This should be the last of such a major disaster, because clearly it's avoidable if we are taking the necessary precautionary measures and gone through the processes. I do recall that in Chile, if my memory serves me right, some miners were trapped. It took days. Eventually, they were rescued because of the way and manner they went about the mining. They found a way of sending food through a hole. They had 1, 2, 3 options, and eventually they were evacuated. And so this should be a learning curve. This should be a wake-up call, so that all of us, and we should rather intensify the efforts towards dealing with this menace and this challenge.
I see. The Honorable Afeyomakin, this is a pit we are told is more than 80 meters deep. Do you suspect that the rescue mission is really over?
Well, Council, before I respond to that, I think I must do the needful in congratulating the venerable Abdul.
No, I like you.
I must state, though, that if you heard me say, we'll have a special time for that today.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, you can reserve it.
So I congratulate you.
All right.
And like you said, they had an extended mafia table yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Yes, and I saw many invited guests.
Right.
So.
And you were there.
Well, I'm an uninvited guest. Anyway, Samson, you are aware that this is not the first time that people have gotten trapped in a Galamsey pit. And this is not the first time that we've heard people losing their lives. The question is, would this be an end to such unfortunate incidents? Would this be an end? Would it be...
John says this should be the end.
Well, that is if those involved in the Galamsey business would heed to the call for them to do what is right.
The government and the minister is doing more than a call.
Of course.
So we must have faith that it is over.
Well, but it will take the cooperation of those involved in the business. And unfortunately, there is this perception that when people die, that is when they get more gold. The last time it happened, 2013, something like that, and in the media, when people were being interviewed on TV, they said, there is that perception. So whilst we are mourning, maybe others may think that it is not time to mourn. But is it really the case? We've been told, and we are aware, that in the Chile situation, because the system was well worked out, they were able to rescue them. But in their way, I mean, they do this anyhow. They are looking for money. And if the media does not bring it out, we don't get to know. So we would continue to appeal with them. The laws are there. Let's comply with them. Let's cooperate with the law enforcement agencies, and then avoid some of these things. That's really my view.
Okay, let me welcome Dr. Emmanuel Akwete to the show. Thank you very much for coming, sir.
Thank you.
Right, and quickly, the Deputy Minister Benito Osubio suggests that further attempts to rescue the victims will lead to further disaster, and so it does appear that that's it. We have given up.
Well, it's a tragedy. My condolences to the bereaved families, and those who have died, may they rest in peace. But your question perhaps reflects the state of our readiness in terms of rescue capacity, the kind of, logistical capability that we have or do not have. But before I come to that, there are a few things that I found intriguing. The DCE, that's the Prestea DCE, this part of the research material you gave us.
Right.
You're supposed to have said that he was not aware
Yes.
of Galamsey activities in the area. He says that there had been a survey of the area 2 weeks prior to the tragedy, and they found no Galamsey activities there. Well, and then key point, the police have declared what they claim to be the owners of the pit wanted. Huh? Who are the owners of the pit? Who are they? That pit, I have to be honest, I'm not very educated in this area. Is it a mining concession? Are the owners licensed to operate in that area? What exactly is it? So who are the owners who have been declared
Wanted.
Were they operating legally, or had they stopped operating? Because if they surveyed the area and they found no Galamsey activities going on, I'm wondering, was there a legal mining activity going on where there's encroachment or invasion by illegal elements? I don't know. It's that gray area, you know. So it brings up the issue of monitoring and evaluation. You know, the district security committee, what has been their role all this time in this whole thing? Because the impression I get is that once they went and conducted a survey, it means that they were minded that this area, possibly such things are happening. Did they just do the survey and then beat a retreat because they saw no activity? The Minerals Commission, they have district inspectors or so.
Yes, they
I've
do.
forgotten the name, the exact terminology. But what were they
They
doing?
do. They're actually supposed to have committees in the various districts.
Yes. So, because you see, there's a campaign ongoing to deal with this menace.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, so far so good, regardless of challenges. There's no doubt that there's a commitment to deal with the issue. And in certain the areas where the mining companies are licensed to do their business, there is even deployment of some military, police and things to help them.
Right.
At the same time, those places there are illegal activities, people who are invading the concessions. So there are a few gray areas. Now we are told, and this is a quote from the document you gave us, it says, I've instructed my district coordinating director as well as the district police commander to take charge of investigations. The district coordinating director, the divisional police commander, the district police commander, the district BNI commander are there. In short, DISEC is in control of the situation and I coordinate with them from here. My goodness, post the event. Where were all these entities and officials, if indeed they were all that much committed to the ongoing campaign? You see, we wait for the tragedy to take place, and then we come and look for solutions. But the tragedy has happened. So whilst I would not suggest that this is a sign of failure of the campaign, because I think that would be a sweeping statement to make. It will be completely unreflective of the dynamics ongoing. I think this should point to the fact that perhaps some people are still sleeping
Right.
on the job, and they must wake up.
At least that some people are still going on with this illicit business. Now, Doc, there's one of them who is known as Ibrahim Musa, who escaped, and he appears to have been sort of a boss at the place, and this is in the western region, the Nsuta area, Huni Valley. He said that when it happened, he said that we held one, tried to pull the dead body, but found that where he was locked in the cage, if we pull him, the soil will crack further and kill us. So we passed through another pit and began digging from the top of the waste, searching for any survivor. So that was the strategy we adopted, he explained. Then he said, in fact, I'm a brave man, but for yesterday, that's last Sunday, only God saved me. I was able to gather 50 people out. The 17 were just unlucky. By the time they had gotten to their point, that part of the pit had already caved in and covered those people. Like Kuku said, obviously, this is a testament that we haven't stopped everybody?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And Kuku, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
And my colleagues, yeah, sorry for being late. I think that we shouldn't have expected that Galamsey mining will stop everywhere, simply because it was said that put a stop to it, we would arrest you and so on. Because the Galamsey economy, it's an economy that others participate as a matter of necessity. They don't have jobs, they need to eat, take care of their family, and there are no alternative livelihood schemes for them to resort to easily. So the moment the Galamsey campaign effectively got more action taken, and the big guns, I'm sure, are not the ones who are going to continue, but those who derive their livelihood from this dangerous activity would certainly continue in various aspects, at various levels, in various places. And what seems to me, I think what it brings up forcefully is that the day after stopping, we have to think about the economic implications for citizens who live there or communities who depend on these things. And if we do not move quickly to address those, they'll be hungry, they will stay there and so on. So I'm looking at things from communities and ordinary people who says this is where we get our livelihood. And they will take every risk because they are hungry or that is the way. But that is not to say that the big guns who are the investors in these mines or the business people around us are to be given the same kinds of explanation. And there, I think the problem that I have always seen come in is that we have never found any of the big men who do Galamsey and arraign them before court like Aisha. And so there is no deterrence, there is impunity. And it's clear that you can, if you're a Ghanaian and probably powerful enough as a Galamsey lord, you will get away with it. So we stopped, but there is no action that is affecting the Ghanaians involved. We only identified a foreigner or some foreigners. So it raises questions about the effectiveness of stopping the action. Was it a reaction and then that is it? Or how long is it going to take for the alternatives to be put in place, especially for communities and ordinary people? But I think the rule of law must be enforced. So long as we haven't been able to get hold of any Ghanaian investing and doing this Galamsey business, there is impunity. And the activity might continue in various ways. Because the gentleman you quoted also said that, well, he was given a contract. Who gave him the contract? So I think that is the first point. The second point to me is this whole DC bit being taken by surprise, but it's also a general problem. Where is intelligence? Okay? The DISEC, the police, the army, these are security agencies operate on intelligence. And it is not a very difficult thing to assume that given the way activities were stopped and no alternatives offered, and probably many of them may not be prepared, they would be underground, they'll be driven underground. And if you drive them underground, going underground doesn't mean they've stopped the activity, now you can't see it. So I would imagine that intelligence will be an important part of the work that the police and all the agencies you mentioned would also do, such that they can pick up on information or pick information on what is likely to happen and probably prevent it, educating people and so on and so forth. We haven't done all this, and the system tends to be more reactive than proactive, and it does not enforce law. It does not think through things in a manner that also resolves the problem from a human perspective or human face, as the politicians use. The human face of it requires that communities and people and so on who would adventure or will go underground are also going to be engaged in a way that discourages them from. So we need a multifaceted approach. I think it's good the activity as it was going on and spreading all over, the business was stopped. But I think there should be some law enforcement. And those who had indulged in this and profited and really flaunting their wealth or whatever must answer, because there is a lot more to do to rehabilitate these communities. There's a lot more to do about the environment. There's a lot more to do about the water resources that have been destroyed and all sorts of things. And those have not been adequately addressed.
Okay. We are thankful to have Ace Nkrumah join us, and Ace Nkrumah will assist us briefly with this one, because Occupy Ghana has also been very vocal on this matter, together with the media campaign. And after that, Ace Nkrumah will help us understand their statement on the bust issue before he takes leave of us. Ace, thank you very much for joining us on Newsfile.
Thanks for calling, Justin.
Great. Now, the DCE for the area says that we were never aware of it. I am surprised there was something like that. We had an exercise just 2 weeks ago on these illegal mining issues, and we combed the site. And so I am surprised about that place. It's a very crucial issue, and it's unfortunate this happened, but everything is under control. Does that suggest to you that it is possible that we move from one site today and the next day some illegal miners go and start working there? And what do you think we can do with this situation, particularly about the owners of the pit, to sort of help even push the campaign further by way of punishment?
When Occupy Ghana did its Galamsey work, we realized that its manifestations differ from simple pickaxe and headpan to heavy machinery and equipment. So many of the Galamsey operators are technically footloose, and so they can move from one place to the other with very little effort. That is why they're able to mine several places at the same time. And so trying to detect their operation means being able to follow their movement. Because if they are being monitored at one place, they can simply move to another place. Now, we also found that the issue of the collective pit often happens when they go to mine the old abandoned mines.
Right.
Now, in those mines, the old mining companies left pillars to hold the pit. Now, these pillars have become weak with time and with inflow of water. And the unfortunate thing is that these Galamsey miners, not knowing what these pillars are for, tend to mine the pillars. Because the pillars are also all bearing. And so in the process, it collapses on them. In fact, our research shows that many get buried and we don't hear about it at all.
Whoa.
Because nobody knows who went where. So Kofi is lost from home. Nobody knows where he is. And so the thing is multifaceted. We went into the Galamsey economy from the headpan carriers to the people they call the kingpins, who own these sites. And they are the people that I think we must be targeting. They are called the kingpins. They own it, they finance it, and they benefit from the finance. And so that's my answer to your question. The kingpins, if we pick them up, this will stop.
Is it that difficult for the police to fish these people out? Because as we know, they are searching for them.
Actually, you just can't arrive in the town and arrest the people. Many of these kingpins are financiers of many local livelihoods. So if you go in there with your police equipment, you will not find them. It will take a lot of intelligence. We have people in the community interviewing them, speaking to people before we found that, and one kingpin showed up and offered us a show of his business. But it took a while to contact him, maybe 6 time meeting. So he said,